Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're ripping open some source material. It's a transcript actually from another show, Easy English Talk, all about learning languages, and we're going to take a good look at what they said about, well, something really key. Listening. The power of listening when you're learning English, for example.
That's right. Our mission here is to really pull out the core insights from this transcript, like the essential nuggets. We want to get into why this source says listening is so important and look at some personal stories they shared and most importantly, figure out the practical stuff you can actually do to improve your own listening. Think of it as, getting the main message without wading through everything.
Yeah, and what really caught my eye was how they talked about it. They called listening a secret power for language learners. A secret power. Why a secret? Why powerful? Let's unpack that based on what's in the transcript. Okay, so one of the very first things they hit on is this idea that, well, good speakers are actually good listeners first.
Right. Which kind of goes against what some people think, doesn't it? You often assume it's all about talking, about output. But this transcript really argues that listening, it's the foundation. They say it actually trains your brain.
Trains your brain. I like that.
Yeah, it's like you're building these new pathways.
Yeah.
Getting your brain used to the language, its sounds, its patterns, its work, Even if it feels kind of passive sometimes.
So it's like a workout for a specific language muscle.
Exactly. And a big part of that workout is getting what the source calls the rhythm of the language. They described it really nicely as the music of English.
The music. What does that mean exactly?
Well, it's the flow, the stress, the intonation, where people pause naturally, which bits are louder or softer, how sentences rise and fall. You don't really get that from a textbook. You have to hear it, tune your ear in. And when you do that, you start picking up other things almost without realizing it. Pronunciation, for instance. It gets clearer the more you hear it said correctly. And sentence structure, too, how things fit together. It starts to feel more natural because you're just hearing it done right again and again. You even start absorbing grammar, not by memorizing rules, but just by hearing it used in real situations.
Okay, so it's bigger than just understanding words. It's the whole system, how it sounds, how it flows.
Precisely. And the transcript really points out how amazing listening is for learning vocabulary. Because when you hear words in a conversation, you get the context. You see how people actually use them, not just a definition on a page. And that makes the words stick better and helps you use them more naturally later on. Plus, it goes deeper than just the technical stuff, the grammar and vocab. Listening teaches you how people communicate, the tone they use, the emotion, the little pauses that change the meaning. You pick up on all those subtle things embedded in the way someone speaks. It gives you the whole communication picture.
Okay, wow. That really makes a strong case for the why. Trains your brain, the music, learning grammar passively, vocab and context, understanding the whole vibe. It really does sound like a secret power. But how do people actually do this? The source had some personal stories, which I thought were quite illuminating.
They did, yeah. And those examples really help. One of the hosts started out right at the beginning with English by listening to simple cartoons, specifically mentioned Dora the Explorer and Peppa Pig.
Cartoons? That's brilliant. Seems basic, but I guess the language is super clear, repetitive.
Exactly that. Approachable, maybe even fun, which is important. And the other host talked about watching Friends. They admitted it felt really fast at first, but their method was smart. They used subtitles to begin with. And crucially, they weren't afraid to pause the show, rewind a bit, and listen again to tricky scenes.
Ah, the pause and rewind. So simple, but yeah, so effective. You're actively digging into the sound then, not just letting it fly past.
Right. And that links to another technique they mentioned, repeating after the speakers. So trying to copy how the characters in Friends sounded. It's a direct way to connect listening to speaking. You practice the rhythm, the pronunciation you just heard, kind of like shadowing.
Okay, so we've got the why it's powerful stuff and some real examples of how people did it. Let's boil this down even more. What are the really practical tips from the source that you listening now could use?
Okay, yeah. The transcript gives some very clear steps. First one, linking back to the cartoons, is start simple. Find stuff made for learners. Short podcasts, maybe.
Yeah.
YouTube channels that speak slowly. Beginner audiobooks. Don't feel you have to jump into, like, complicated news reports right away.
Makes sense. Meet yourself where you are, basically.
Totally. Second tip, subtitles. The source says, yeah, use them at first. They help you follow. But then challenge yourself. Try listening without them sometimes. Force your brain to just use your ears.
A good stepping stone approach.
Third, like we just discussed with friends, repeat after the speaker. Mimic them. Try to sound like them. It builds confidence and trains your mouth muscles too. And actually, the original transcript we're digging into, they had moments where they literally asked listeners to repeat sentences.
Oh, really? Like built-in practice?
Yeah, like, I like to listen to English every day. They actually did it in their show. It shows how much they believed in that technique.
That's neat. They practice what they preached.
Exactly. Fourth tip, weave listening into your day. Put English on when you're cleaning, walking, cooking, whatever. It might just be background noise at first, but slowly you'll start tuning in more. Make it part of your environment.
Right, so it's not just another study task you have to schedule.
Precisely. And the last tip, which I think is maybe the most freeing one, don't stress about understanding every single word. It's okay to miss stuff. The main thing is to try and get the gist, the overall message, the feeling.
That must be a huge relief for people. You don't need 100% comprehension right away.
Not at all. Focus on the big picture. And tying it all together, their final suggestion for practice was listen to real conversations. They actually pointed out that their own show, this transcript we're analyzing, is itself an example of that. Real people talking.
Huh. Meta. So we're kind of doing the thing right now by talking about the source.
You got it. It's a perfect example of just hearing how English is actually spoken.
Okay, so boiling it all down then. The main takeaway from this source seems pretty clear. Before you worry too much about speaking, really work on your listening. That's the secret power, as they put it.
Yeah, and they suggest the payoff is pretty big. Consistent listening, even just say 10 minutes daily. They believe that can genuinely lead to noticeable improvement in your English over time.
It sounds like it comes down to consistency and also your attitude. Don't be shy. Don't get bogged down by what you don't get. Instead, be curious. Be open to the sounds, the rhythms. Try and find ways to actually enjoy it. Cartoons, TV, podcasts, whatever works for you.
And maybe think about this. If listening really is that foundational secret power you build before speaking fluently, and if the advice is to focus on the overall message, not sweat every single word, what does that suggest to you about the importance of patience and curiosity? And maybe just being okay with imperfection on your own language journey, something to think about as you try these ideas out.